You're not tired because you've been working too hard. You're tired because you've been leaking, slowly, silently, invisibly. Every time you justified your boundaries to someone who only respects walls they can climb over, you lost a drop of yourself. Every time you engaged with a lie just to prove you knew the truth, you handed your energy to a thief. This isn't exhaustion. It's erosion. And the worst part? You didn't even notice the crack. 500 years ago, Niccolo Machiavelli watched Florence burn not from invasion, but from leaders who couldn't stop reacting. They answered every rumor, defended against every whisper, and in doing so, revealed their fear. Tonight, you learn what he truly understood, that silence isn't emptiness, it's architecture. And the most powerful structure you'll ever build is the one that keeps certain people out. You have been bleeding power your entire life, and you never even noticed the wound. Not because you lacked strength, but because you mistook attention for connection and reaction for righteousness. The truth is this: your presence is not a public utility. It is a sovereign domain. And until you start treating it as such, you will remain a resource for others to exploit while your own purpose gathers dust. Machiavelli wasn't writing a manual for tyrants. He was dissecting why good intentions collapse in the face of human nature. In The Prince, he never praised cruelty. He praised control. Specifically, control over perception, timing, and response. He observed that rulers who rushed to explain themselves were seen as insecure. Those who acted without apology were seen as inevitable. His genius wasn't in advocating deception, but in recognizing that access is the true currency of influence. When a prince spoke to everyone, he became common. When he spoke only when necessary, his words carried the weight of law. Modern culture has twisted this into manipulation. But Machiavelli's deeper lesson was about conservation. Power isn't created through constant output. It's preserved through disciplined restraint. The prince who chases validation becomes a servant. The prince who withholds his presence becomes a force. And in today's world, where attention is harvested like oil, that principle is more vital than ever. Machiavelli understood that chaos feeds on reaction. The moment you respond to noise, you validate its existence. But when you remain still, you force the noise to confront its own insignificance. He didn't admire silence for its passivity. He revered it for its precision. A prince who speaks only when victory is certain doesn't appear cold. He appears inevitable. And inevitability is the highest form of power. You don't need to be feared to be respected. You need only to be unreadable. And unreadability begins the moment you stop explaining yourself to those who have already decided you're guilty. When you stop responding to someone who thrives on your reaction, something primal happens inside them. Neuroscience confirms it. Social rejection activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Their chest tightens. Their thoughts spiral. They replay conversations, searching for the moment they lost you. But here's where we diverge from the dark playbook. You're not weaponizing their pain, you're protecting your purpose. This isn't about making them suffer. It's about refusing to let their chaos dictate your inner weather. Think of it like this. In pharmaceutical compliance, you don't argue with contamination, you isolate it. In elder protection, you don't reason with an abuser, you remove access. Your silence toward toxic forces isn't cruelty, it's containment. You become unreadable, and in that unreadability, you regain control. They can no longer predict you, manipulate you, or drain you. You haven't vanished. You've simply revoked their clearance level to your mind. The human brain is wired to seek closure, to resolve dissonance, to fill silence with meaning. When you deny that instinct, you create a vacuum they cannot escape. They will craft messages they never send. They will rehearse apologies they never offer. They will wonder if they've been erased, and in that wondering, they diminish themselves. But remember, this isn't revenge, it's recalibration. You are not punishing them. You are reclaiming the space they occupied in your psyche. And in that reclaimed space, you plant the seeds of your next chapter, uninterrupted, undiluted, unapologetic. Not everyone deserves your void. Some people deserve nothing at all, not anger, not explanation, not even the satisfaction of knowing they got under your skin. First, the corrupter. This is the colleague who slides a falsified shipment log across your desk with a wink, the executive who says, "Everyone does it." Engaging with them legitimizes their rot. Silence here is resistance. It says, "Your corruption is not my conversation." Second, the exploiter. The family member who twists love into leverage, who uses your loyalty as a crowbar to pry open your resources or reputation. You saw it with your own mother, how vulnerability was staged, how trust was weaponized. Refusing to play that game isn't coldness, it's clarity. You honor her real suffering by refusing to let her name be used as cover for fraud. Third, the noisemaker. The perpetual victim, the office gossip, the friend who turns every coffee chat into a crisis dump. They don't want solutions. They want your emotional labor as fuel. Cutting contact isn't abandonment. It's self-preservation. Remember, every second spent managing their chaos is stolen from your mission. And your mission, whether it's protecting seniors through the Helen Harrison Fund, upholding FDA compliance, or building a firm rooted in truth, is too important to outsource to parasites. These are not people to be reasoned with. They are systems of extraction disguised as relationships, and the most ethical response to extraction is disconnection. You owe them nothing, not your time, not your peace, not even the dignity of a final word. Closure is a gift, and they have not earned it. Let them live in the limbo they created. Your silence is not absence, it is judgment. Mastering indifference isn't about becoming numb. It's about becoming precise. The Stoics called it apatheia, not the absence of feeling, but freedom from being ruled by it. Machiavelli would call it virtù, the cold clarity to act from strategy, not emotion. Start small. Next time someone insults your integrity, don't defend it. Pause. Breathe. Let the urge to justify rise and pass. Like a wave. Don't clench your jaw. Don't soften your tone to appease. Stand in your truth without performing it. Do this repeatedly, and something shifts. You stop needing the world to see your righteousness. Your power becomes internal, unshakable. Weak men react because they believe their worth depends on being understood. Strong men act because they know their worth is non-negotiable. The insult no longer lands because you've stopped treating it as a verdict. You've become a fortress with no gates for fools. This discipline is forged in daily choices. Letting a text go unanswered, walking away from a baiting comment, declining to attend a gathering where your presence will be used as ammunition. Each act of restraint is a brick in your inner citadel. There will be days you slip, moments when old wounds flare, and you say too much. But each time you return to silence, you strengthen your sovereignty. Indifference is not indifference to truth. It is indifference to noise. And in a world drowning in noise, that distinction is everything. True power operates in stillness. Picture this. You're in a meeting where a senior leader spins a half-truth to cover a compliance gap. Everyone, waits for your rebuttal. You're the regulatory officer, after all. But you say nothing. You take notes. You nod slightly. And in that silence, the room grows heavy. The liar begins to sweat. Not because you accused him, but because your quiet presence implies you've already documented everything. Or imagine a family dinner where your brother tries to paint you as the villain for investigating his actions. Instead of rising to defend yourself, you change the subject gently. Or better yet, excuse yourself early. No drama, no tears, just clean withdrawal. People will mistake your calm for weakness until they realize you've removed yourself from games you never agreed to play. That's the magic of strategic absence. You force others to reveal themselves while you remain unreadable. You don't win by shouting louder. You win by making your silence the loudest thing in the room. In business, the negotiator who appears unaffected wins, not because he's ruthless, but because he signals he has options. In relationships, the one who cares less holds the power, not because he's heartless, but because his value isn't contingent on approval. This isn't cynicism, it's realism. The world respects what it cannot control, and the moment you stop being predictable, you become magnetic. Not because you chase attention, but because you embody something rare, self-contained authority. But beware, silence can also be cowardice in disguise. Machiavelli despised inaction that enabled collapse. If you stay quiet while vulnerable people are harmed, if you withhold your voice when truth is buried, you're not being strategic, you're being complicit. There's a line between wise withdrawal and moral evasion. The prince must know when to speak and when to strike. Your silence should shield the innocent, not shelter the guilty. When federal investigators need your testimony, you speak. When an elder is being fleeced, you act. Strategic silence isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about choosing which battles honor your values. Never confuse discretion with desertion. The moment your quiet protects corruption instead of exposing it, you've betrayed the very principle you claim to uphold. Machiavelli's prince acted decisively when the state was at risk. Your state, your integrity, your family, your profession is always at risk when you prioritize comfort over courage. So ask yourself, is my silence protecting truth or preserving peace at the cost of justice? If it's the latter, you're not mastering power, you're surrendering it. True sovereignty means knowing when to break your silence like glass, sharp, sudden, and shattering the illusion of safety that enables evil. This is where you arrive, untouchable, not because you're hardened, but because you're sovereign. You no longer seek approval from those who wouldn't cross the street to help you carry a burden. Your attention is your territory, your energy, your legacy, your silence, your signature. You reserve warmth for those who've earned it through consistency, not convenience. You reserve words for moments that move the needle toward justice, integrity, or healing. Everything else? It gets nothing. Not anger, not explanation, not even a glance. This isn't arrogance. It's architecture. You've built an inner kingdom so fortified that external chaos can't breach it. And from this elevation, the noise below doesn't just fade, it becomes irrelevant. You walk differently now. You speak less, but with greater weight. You listen more, but filter ruthlessly. You've learned that presence without permission is trespassing, and you no longer tolerate intruders. The people who once controlled your emotions will notice the shift. They'll test you. They'll provoke you. They'll try to pull you back into their orbit with guilt, flattery, or crisis. but you won't be moved. You'll look at them with eyes that have seen through the illusion. That connection without respect is just another form of theft, and you'll give them nothing. Not because you hate them, but because you love your mission too much to waste another second on distractions. Your reign begins not with a declaration, but with a decision. The decision to stop leaking, to stop explaining, to stop giving your life force to those who treat your presence as a right, not a privilege. From this moment on, you operate differently. You speak less and observe more. You engage only when it serves truth, not ego. You let results speak while others scream into the void. Those who once controlled your emotions will test you. They'll provoke, guilt, flatter, threaten, but you won't be moved. You'll look at them with eyes that have seen through the illusion. That connection without respect is just another form of theft, and you'll give them nothing, not because you hate them, but because you love your mission too much to waste another second on distractions. If this resonates, leave a comment with the words, "I choose silence," not as a weapon, but as a vow to guard your integrity like the rarest resource it is. If this stirred something in you, hit like and subscribe, not for entertainment, but for armor. Your path demands clarity, courage, and the quiet strength to walk away from everything that isn't yours to carry. Go forth and be sovereign. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more men and women who understand that the most powerful statement is often the one never made. And in that silence, empires of integrity are built, one withheld word at a time.